This qualification is required for commercial driver's license holders who operate vehicles designed to transport 16 or more passengers, including the driver. The test focuses on the special safety considerations of driving a bus, including vehicle inspection, proper passenger handling, emergency procedures, bus-specific vehicle controls, and restrictions on transporting hazardous materials. Let's get started. Where are recapped, regrooved, or retreaded tires forbidden on a bus? On the front wheels. Tires on the steer axle are critical for vehicle control. Federal regulations strictly prohibit recap retread tires on the front wheels of buses due to the increased risk of failure. Let's continue. When checking a bus's hydraulic brakes, after pumping the pedal 3 times, how long must you hold the pedal down to check for movement? 5 seconds. This tests for a slow leak in the hydraulic brake system. If the pedal moves down slowly during the 5 seconds, a leak needs to be repaired. Moving on. What should you check on all emergency exit windows and doors during your pre-trip inspection? They must be undamaged, operate smoothly, and be able to be closed securely from the inside. You must ensure all emergency exits are fully functional for a fast evacuation in case of an emergency. Time for the next question. What is the primary purpose of the standing line on a bus? To prevent standing passengers from interfering with the driver or their view. The line ensures standing passengers do not block the driver's sight lines or restrict their movement, which is necessary for safe operation. Next up. What is the maximum air pressure loss allowed in a single bus, not combination, with the engine off and brakes applied within a 1-minute period, no more than 3 psi? A drop greater than 3 psi in 1 minute with the brakes applied indicates excessive air leakage and a defect that must be repaired. Let's continue. During a pre-trip inspection, why should you check that the mirrors are clean and adjusted properly from the inside? So you can use them to see down the side of the bus and monitor passengers. Mirrors are essential for monitoring traffic, checking clearance on the sides, and observing passenger activity inside the bus for safety. Moving on. What must you do before signing the previous driver's vehicle inspection report VIR? Ensure the defects listed have been certified as either repaired or not needing to be repaired. By signing the report, you certify the vehicle is safe to operate and that all previously reported safety-related issues have been addressed. Time for the next question. What is one sign that a wheel is loose on a wedge-type wheel or a rim is loose? Rust trails coming from the stud holes. Loose components allow movement and rubbing, which exposes fresh metal that quickly rusts, creating visible rust streaks. Next up, what is the purpose of the brake door interlock system on a transit bus? It applies the brakes and keeps the engine idling whenever the rear door is open. This safety feature prevents the driver from accidentally moving the bus while passengers are boarding or exiting through the rear door. Let's continue, which is a key passenger safety item to inspect inside the bus. Each handhold and railing must be securely fastened. Handholds are critical for passenger balance while the bus is in motion. Loose or damaged railings could cause a passenger to fall and be injured. Moving on. What must you inspect on the steering box during your pre-trip inspection? That it is securely mounted and not leaking fluid. If the steering box is loose or leaking, the steering could fail completely, resulting in a loss of vehicle control. Time for the next question. What is the general rule for carrying carry-on baggage on a bus? It must be secured in a way that allows passengers to exit by any window or door in an emergency. All baggage must be stored so it does not block the aisles, stairs, or any emergency exit path. Next up, what should you do with any open access panels on the exterior of the bus before driving? Close them securely. Open panels could cause damage or expose internal components to weather and debris while driving. Let's continue. When conducting a service foot brake check, what is the key thing you are looking for as you pull forward at 5 miles per hour? The vehicle should not pull to one side or the other. If the bus pulls, it indicates that the brakes on one side are grabbing unevenly, which requires adjustment or repair. Moving on. If a bus is equipped with emergency roof hatches, what is their purpose besides emergency exit? They can be partially opened to provide fresh air and ventilation. Roof hatches serve as both emergency exits and large vents that can be partially opened for climate control. Time for the next question. What is a common danger for bus drivers who drive alongside other vehicles? Missing or hitting objects/vehicles with the side mirrors or side of the bus. Due to the bus's width and extended mirrors, drivers must be aware of clearance to avoid striking objects in tight situations. Next up. If you are driving a 40-foot bus at 50 miles per hour, what is the minimum safe following distance you should maintain in good conditions using the seconds rule? 6 seconds. The rule is 1 second per 10 feet of length, 4 seconds, plus an extra second for speeds over 40 miles per hour, 2 seconds, totaling 6 seconds. Let's continue. What is the most critical factor to consider when navigating a sharp turn in a large bus? The rear wheels will track closer to the curb than the front wheels, off-tracking. To prevent the rear wheels from hitting curbs or other objects, the driver must swing wide to compensate for the shorter path of the rear axle. Moving on. When is the safest time to announce the next bus stop to passengers? After coming to a complete stop at the proper location. Announcing the stop after stopping prevents passengers from moving down the aisle while the bus is still in motion, reducing the risk of falls. Time for the next question. When is the posted speed limit on a curve often too fast for a large bus? The bus is more prone to rolling over at that speed. Due to its high center of gravity, a bus is more susceptible to rollover than a car, making advisory speed limits on curves potentially unsafe. Next up, if you are driving a bus, what action should you never take while crossing railroad tracks? Changed gears. Shifting gears risks stalling the engine or locking up the transmission, which could strand the bus on the tracks. Let's continue. What must you ensure before transporting passengers? They are safely on the bus before closing the door and pulling away. This rule is fundamental for safety and prevents passengers from being caught in the door or falling as the bus accelerates. Moving on. If there is no traffic light or attendant at a drawbridge, how far back must you stop? At least 50 feet from the draw span. This mandatory stopping distance provides a safe buffer zone from the draw mechanism and allows the bus room to maneuver. Time for the next question. At a passive railroad crossing, no gate or signal, what is the distance from the nearest rail that a CDL passenger driver must stop? Between 15 and 50 feet. Federal regulations require a stop, at least 15 feet away for a clear view and no more than 50 feet away to remain close enough to check for trains. Next up, as a bus driver, you are not allowed to carry which type of cargo? Labeled radioactive materials in the spaces occupied by people. Federal regulations strictly prohibit the transport of labeled radioactive materials in any area where passengers are present due to the health risk. Let's continue. What is the maximum total weight of certain allowed hazardous materials like emergency drugs, small arms ammunition, or hospital supplies a bus can carry? Not more than 500 pounds total or 100 pounds of any one class. Strict weight limits are placed on allowed materials to minimize risk in a passenger vehicle, with a lower limit for any single class of material. Moving on. When must a driver complete a driver's vehicle inspection report, VIR, for a bus? At the end of each workday, post-trip inspection. A post-trip inspection and VIR are required to ensure any defects are documented and repaired before the next driver takes the bus out. Time for the next question. Why is it important for charter bus drivers to prohibit riders from boarding the bus until departure time? To help prevent theft or vandalism of the bus. Allowing unsupervised passengers to board early can lead to unauthorized access to the driver's area, luggage, or equipment. Next up, if you have a passenger who is unruly or rowdy, where should you discharge them? At the next designated stop or terminal, or a location that is as safe as possible. The driver must remove a disruptive passenger at the first safe authorized location to ensure the safety of all other riders. Let's continue. Never refuel your bus. In a closed building with passengers on board, refueling creates flammable fumes. Doing this in an enclosed space with passengers present creates a severe fire and explosion risk. Moving on. When approaching a stop, what should you do if your bus is equipped with a brake door interlock system? Apply the parking brake and use the service brake as needed. The interlock is not a substitute for the parking brake. The interlock is a supplementary device. The driver must still use the primary parking brake to secure the vehicle when stopped. Time for the next question. What is the most important rule for the condition of the bus floor covering? It must not be slippery and should be securely fastened. Loose or slippery floor coverings are a major tripping hazard, especially when passengers are moving, making the prevention of slips and falls a top priority. Next up, what must you make sure is functioning before driving a bus equipped with a restroom? The restroom emergency buzzer signaling device. This device is necessary to ensure a passenger who becomes ill or injured in the restroom can alert the driver for assistance. Let's continue. When should you activate your four-way flashers or warning lights to alert others of a hazard? When the bus is stopped and presents a traffic hazard. Flashers are used to warn traffic of a non-routine stationary hazard, such as a bus stop on the side of a highway. Moving on. What should you use to put out a liquid fuel fire in the engine compartment? A pressurized water or foam extinguisher. Water and foam extinguishers are effective on Class B fires, flammable liquids like gasoline, and are often specified for use on fuel-related engine fires. Time for the next question. What must be checked on the bus interior during a pre-trip inspection? Seats must be safe for riders and securely fastened to the bus. Loose or damaged seats pose a safety risk to passengers, especially in the event of sudden braking or a crash. Next up, when should you turn on the emergency exit red light, if equipped? Whenever conditions require you to turn on your headlights. The red emergency exit light should be on when headlights are needed to ensure the exits are clearly illuminated for emergency responders. Let's continue. What is the recommended safe distance for a bus driver to look ahead while driving on the highway? 12 to 15 seconds. Looking this far ahead gives the driver enough time to spot hazards, evaluate the situation, and take action, which is vital for a large vehicle. Moving on. What action should you take if your bus is equipped with ABS and you start the engine? The ABS indicator light should come on and then turn off quickly. This sequence confirms that the anti-lock braking system ABS is powered on and functioning correctly. Time for the next question. A convex curved mirror on a bus makes objects appear smaller and farther away than they really are. Convex mirrors provide a wider view but distort distance, which is why they carry a warning about objects being closer than they appear. Next up, which road condition is not suitable for opening your emergency roof hatches for ventilation? During heavy rainfall or snow. Opening the hatches in heavy rain or snow will cause water to enter the bus, damaging the interior and creating a slip hazard. Let's continue. What is a key point to remember about the effects of the total stopping distance for a bus compared to a car? It is much greater for a heavy bus. A heavy bus takes significantly longer to stop than a light car due to its mass, making a long following distance absolutely critical. Moving on. If you are driving a bus and a hazard requires you to stop suddenly, which braking technique is generally recommended? Apply controlled braking. Use the brakes to keep the vehicle in a straight line. Controlled braking means applying the brakes as hard as possible without locking the wheels, which helps maintain steering control while slowing down. Time for the next question. If your bus's low air pressure warning signal comes on, what is the best immediate action? Stop the bus right away and safely park it. The warning signal means the air brake system pressure has dropped below the safe level and may fail, requiring an immediate and safe stop. Next up, if you encounter an obstacle in the road, what is generally safer for a bus driver, steering around it or braking hard? Steering around it, if you have room, is often safer than hard braking. Due to a bus's high center of gravity, a controlled swerve is often safer than hard braking, which can lead to a skid or loss of control. Let's continue. If your bus is leaning toward the outside on a banked curve, what does this indicate? You are driving too fast and should slow down before the bus rolls over or skids. Leaning to the outside is the result of excessive centrifugal force, a clear warning sign of an impending dangerous skid or rollover. Moving on. When should a bus driver avoid fueling a bus with riders on board, unless absolutely necessary? This is a safety precaution against fire and explosion and should be avoided at all times, only done if there is no other option. Time for the next question. What is the most important part of inspecting the wheels and rims? Checking for damaged, cracked, or bent rims and ensuring there are no welding repairs. Damage or unauthorized repairs can indicate a structural weakness that could lead to a catastrophic wheel failure while driving. Next up, you may sometimes haul small arms ammunition, medical and hospital supplies on a bus. The total weight of solid Class 6 poisons you can carry must not be greater than 100 pounds. This is a specific lower weight limit for poisons within the overall 500 pounds hazmat limit enforced to minimize risk in a passenger area. Let's continue. What must you do before crossing any tracks if one train has just passed at a multi-track crossing? Make sure there is not another train coming in the opposite direction on other tracks. The first train may obscure your view of a second train. You must wait until you have a clear view in both directions before proceeding. That wraps up our practice session for the New Jersey CDL passenger endorsement exam. Keep reviewing this material and you'll be ready for your test.